Now we have another fascinating session. Najima Atkinson is SVP of Human Resources at Dell Technologies, and Dawn Sharafin is Slack's VP of People. They are going to be interviewed by Payal Zafari, who is Senior Tech Reporter at Business Insider, talking about how to give employees what they need to be successful. The session is called Empowering Your Employees.
Thanks, Julia. I'm Payal Zaveri. I'm a senior tech reporter at Business Insider.
Hi, my name is Dawn Sharafin. I'm VP of People at Slack.
Hi, I am Najima Atkinson. I am the SVP of HR for our Global HR Services Organization. I've been with Dell Technologies for over 21 years, and I am so excited to be with you all today.
Great. Thank you guys for joining us. So the first question I have for you guys is, what has changed about your jobs as HR professionals over the last year as, remote work has become the norm for the majority of your employee base? And Najima, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I mean, like many of you all, we can't ignore the impact that COVID has had for us, right? And so we could not have imagined what last year would have been like, but we're very excited about what this year would be like. So very quickly, in about a weekend, we had to send 90% of our workforce to work remotely. And so we had to think about all of the solutions and the offerings that we provided to our team members, and how do we continue to onboard, to ensure that we provide the right type of culture, to ensure that folks have the ability to be successful and effective and to grow a career. And so while we've always been innovative, this really challenged our innovation and how we leverage technology to allow places for our team members to collaborate with one another, to ensure that they had a way to receive support from us, as well as to ensure that we had a way to support our customers. And so we've had a really great cross-functional effort to look at those types of things. Additionally, the things we had to think about was just the well-being of our team members. And so while I feel like we've got a great set of options that we provide them, we really enhanced our benefits for those working parents or those who found themselves in need of urgent care that they may not have planned for. So those are some of the things that it's done to impact us.
Yeah, and I would just, we say plus one. I would plus one when Najima said, I think, how have our world and jobs not changed in the past year? I mean, shout out to any of the people professionals watching this right now. Like, we have done more in this last year than I think I've done in the 20 years prior in my career. So first of all, if you are a people professional and you are hanging in there and you are self-caring for yourself, I see you and you're doing great work. So there. I would say, for Slack, we've shifted our company to be fully remote. I feel like we were a little bit of an advantage because the platform is our headquarters. So we were able to work in the product immediately and support our employees immediately. We were also able to use our product to help first responders. And now, we're looking at how we can continue to help support fighting the pandemic, to get people back to wherever they want to work, whether that's in the office or from home. And similarly, we increased many of our benefits, whether it was time off, flexibility, or mental health benefits as people struggle with isolation.
That kind of leads me to my next question is, given this big shift that's happened over the last year and, all these kind of external factors that everyone is dealing with, what is kind of the biggest challenge you've faced with managing employees' needs right now?
Yeah, thanks. I would say flexibility has always been a top priority for Dell. So for about 10 years, we've had what we call our Connected Workplace program, where we, as you said, Don, we say it's not about a physical location, it's just about how you get work done. And so what we try to do is make sure that we continue to provide support for our team members to understand that we're going to be there for them and we're going to support them. So we established our 2020 goals that say we wanted 50% of our workforce to work remotely. We exceeded that. In March of 2020, we were at 65%. And since we were in that remote capacity, we do a lot to check in and make sure that we're providing them what they need. Team members are really simple, as Don was saying. They just want to be able to understand that they can get support. They want to know that they have the ability to get their answers very quickly. And so we've enhanced all of our technology, and we leverage some different tools to allow us to collaborate. We use a lot of webcams. We use Zoom like everyone else. We have one space that we use, and we do also offer some internal solutions that we use from our Boomi line brand to ensure that we have an opportunity to onboard our team members. So we were able to quickly pivot. So we were probably at a little bit of an advantage when it comes to working remotely. Really now it's just about how do we enhance that and how do we use our skills to help our customers. So what we found is that a lot of our customers did not have the knowledge that we had and the capabilities to work remotely. And so we've enabled and empowered our sales force and our team members to help support them and to help drive the solutions and outcomes that they need.
Very, very well said. I would say, a lot of the similar things. What we did is we've also created something called the Future Forum, which is for us, Future Forum work to help our customers, to help kind of the community to pivot because we were at an advantage and we had the technology to be able to do that. And we saw across our customer base, not everyone was ready for that. It was also a place where I don't know about you, but a lot of our managers were like, oh, this role couldn't be done remotely. It must be done in the office. And now we're at a place where you didn't have a choice. And so how do you re-envision that? What does that look like? So with our Future Forum, with the technology, I think that's really been how we've been trying to contribute after we put on our own oxygen masks, help the community and our customers as well.
What have you found as what's changed in the way that, your company communicates with customers, in terms of helping them through this time and this transition? And it seems like from what both of you are saying, both Dell and Slack have been doing something in the remote work capacity for a while. And so talk to me a little bit about how you've been able to kind of extend that and lend a hand to customers who are dealing with the change.
When the pandemic first hit, and I think many of us did a hard remote work in January, February of last year, we opened our product up to everyone. So, we had everyone in the company, if you knew you were a Slack expert because you worked at Slack, we were helping and triaging people to how to help to learn how to use the tool. We then created white papers, best practices, this Future Forum that I mentioned. And then we have an amazing CSM, customer success team that works with our managers. We've held webinars, what it looks like, things like that. So I would say it's been leveraging the product, teaching people how to use the product, and then creating resources for them to use present and in future.
Great. Don, we've done very similar things. As you know, one of the things we pride ourselves in at Dell Technologies is the relationship that we have with our customers. And we always work with them directly. So very quickly, we were able to mobilize our resources internally to ensure that we had a way to kind of triage any customer issues or solutions that they may have needed. A lot of our customers found themselves in need of hardware because they now had a larger remote population. And so us partnering with them to identify what their technical needs were, how they needed to have that support, what kind of customer service we could put around that so they can get up and running quickly. And we work very much so with our federal governments. So those were our front lines. And so we prioritized working with them and helping to share some of our best practices in working remotely and helping them solve the solutions of what they needed to have to now have this remote workforce with the technology behind it to support them in answering any questions. We also spent, myself included, a lot of time with customers talking about our day-to-day experiences from an HR perspective. What does it look like to now support and recruit a remote workforce? What are some of the best practices that you have? How do you create an environment where people do feel connected? Because managers are skeptical. So how do we work through that change? And what are some of the things that we can leverage and best practices from you? So we worked with them on those kinds of things. We continue to work right now with our state and local governments as they try to resolve any of the issues and the challenges that they face, as well as their customers, as they are now also faced with the fact that more than likely this is just the new way of working or the way that we will be working. And so how do you do that they can meet their overall outcomes through the support of technology? Because that's our purpose. We use technology to power progress in this work.
So that's kind of, another question I had for both of you. What tools or tech or otherwise have you been relying on during this era of remote work? And Najma, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I mean, at Dell Technologies, we've got a great platform, and we've got one HCM system that allows us to be able to access our team members' information very quickly so that when we are working with them, it's bespoke. My team is responsible for, as I said, the employee lifecycle. And so we introduce what we have a global chat functionality so that team members, wherever they are at any time, can connect with us and ask questions and get real-time support. We also have a really robust learning studio. You don't have the capability of having face-to-face classes, so we really had to enhance what that virtual experience looked like. So we've got a number of tools and new trainings that we put out there to help people and leaders deal with working with remote team members, how to be effective, to build new services and solutions, I would say, and even skill sets that they will now need for the work of the future. So those are just some of the platforms that we leverage from an HR perspective. We also, to get creative with hiring, because I do think that this has allowed us to really open up where roles can be done, a concept of marketplace. So if you're familiar with the concept of gig economy, that means I've got a skill or an interest, and I want to put that skill or interest towards a key strategic effort that is going on in the organization. So we opened up our marketplace, our opportunity marketplace, which allows people to basically bid for positions and to match themselves in opportunities that they may not have had because they did not physically sit at a location or they were in a different region. Now that it's really opened up our ability to get the best and the brightest of all of our team members.
I was going to say, that's so interesting because, again, we are doing very similar work, Dell obviously at a much larger scale. But for us, I mean, when you talked about helping managers really lead into this new way of managing, I think that's been a really big piece for us. So yes, the technology, of course we use Slack, of course we use Zoom, like everything that a lot of folks are using. But I think that's more interesting are like what Najma is kind of referencing, where these little communities or how people are supporting each other in this period of time, whether that's managers, peers, colleagues. So for us, with our managers, we started talking about how do you manage remotely? How do you build culture remotely? How do you build relationship remotely? We have on-demand trainings around change management. We've also created an issue where a hub for resources for managers for them to support themselves. So when this summer, when George Floyd was murdered and Black Lives Matter happened, we created a hub for some of our employees to get together to be able to talk about that in a way to support each other when they weren't in the office. So I think how you kind of support through times, especially the pandemic and unseen circumstances, technologies can be lots of different things. We think Slack is the best, but I think really continuing to build that community is the most important thing, regardless of what technology you use.
I agree. I want to just echo what you said. It's really this mind shift, right, that we're looking for. It seems like both of us have great organizations full of diverse team members with unique prospects, and we ground ourselves with the commonality of our culture. So while technology is our enabler, the other key factor, and that's why it's so important, as you said, it is about the culture. We have an unwavering commitment to equality and trust and advocacy for our team members. So our ability, as you said, to hit some of those issues head on, to address them, to provide an environment where team members can have those conversations and understand that they have the support of their senior leaders is critically important. When those activities and those issues happened, unfortunately, our top leader, CEO Michael Dell, came out very strongly as rest of the leadership team around what our position was and our ability to make sure that we provided forums for team members to connect. And the reason I'm calling this out is because that is so important when you're working remotely. When you work remotely, you already feel disconnected and almost unseen. And so our ability to really impress upon our leaders that your team members are out there dealing with a number of things, you need to be proactive, not reactive in reaching out to them. And so we also did a number of things to help them learn how to do that, what they can do to have simple one-on-ones, check in with their team members. We actually do like happy hours and we do coffee chats on Zoom just to make sure that we're connecting with them, because it really is about the relationships that we have and that complete change of mindset and it's embracing everyone. We all find ourselves in tough situations sometimes, and it's the little things that really matter. So really personifying what it means to be a leader for our organization is critically important. So I just wanted to reemphasize because that's so important. I don't want people to miss that.
What has been, the biggest thing you've had to shift in terms of, looking to create this kind of community and support network for employees when they're, in getting through these types of things when you're not in a physical space together? What has been kind of the biggest shift that you've had to undertake to kind of make sure that happens? And Najma, you can start with you.
So, like we said, work is not tied to where you are physically, but what you do and the outcomes that you drive. And so what we've done is really reinforce that. We've reinforced that in our performance management. We've reinforced that in the way that we work. It has helped us to broaden, frankly, our talent pool and where we can attract talent and how we're going to retain talent. And so I think the shift has not necessarily been in the physical, but again, in the mindset change. It's really just broadening and enhancing what we've already done. So a good example of that is just broadening who and how we hire. And opening that up to pools that we may not have opened it to. Like we recently have our autism hiring program. And so we hire folks that are autistic. We held a program virtually, very successfully for the first time, that allowed us to recruit across the country, to bring more people on the autism spectrum to us, to get introduced to us as an organization, and us to get introduced to that phenomenal talent pool to add to us. The other things we've done is it's really helped. There are underserved organizations or populations who feel that they are not seen. This allows everyone to have an equal playing field. You'll hear me say it's all about everyone has a seat at this virtual table now. So because we are remote, then you have more access versus less access to senior leaders and to opportunities that you may not have had. And so we have really taught through our affinity groups. So we have employee resource groups. So we've really taught through our employee resource groups how to really broaden your network, how to reach out to senior leaders, and how to make your voices heard and known. And it's been very popular, and it's really a receptive initiative that we have in the organization.
That's awesome. I would love offline to hear more about your autism outreach program. It sounds really fantastic. I think for us, you really keyed in on something that we've been talking about, which is we have now leveled the playing field for everyone. So, obviously we're much smaller than Dell. Most of our employees are in San Francisco. We tried really hard to not say we had a headquarters, but the reality of it is that the positions of power were in San Francisco, and you might be in an elevator, you might be at the coffee bar, and then you would have relationship and build network and rapport. Now it is truly a flattened experience for everyone to get access. So we have done a lot of work with we have ERGs as well, with our ERGs in terms of we've continue to build our mentorship and sponsorship programs. We had those rolling before remote work, but there was a question at one point of like, should we continue to do it? It'll be weird to not meet in person. And we thought, no, look at these amazing matches we can now make. And what does that look like? We allowed, it's very expensive to live in the Bay Area, and the average age of our employees is 34. So people are having babies. This has allowed them to go have a different life and work somewhere where they can purchase a home. And they are very excited about that. I don't know about your employees, but my employees have really talked about finding and connecting back to the importance of family. So wanting to be closer to them, but also keep a job that they love. And so we've really, it really is, the platform is our headquarters now, and because the playing field is leveled in such a different way, and because this has gone on for such a long period of time, I think it has kind of built that muscle that if it had ended in 2 weeks, we would have just gone back to the way things had been before.
Got it. It sounds like it's really opened up the hiring pool and the recruitment pool that you guys, both of your companies are pulling from. You mentioned the autism hiring program, Najma. I'm wondering, what are other strategies that you guys have used to, make sure you're accessing a broader pool of candidates in recruitment and when you're looking at roles, and encouraging managers to kind of take that perspective as well.
Sorry, I apologize. Very similar to what Dawn shared. We want to retain talent. And we are located physically in Central Texas, so that is our corporate headquarters. But a lot of our new strategies and efforts and things that we're going through, the talent resides in other places in the country or the world. So the ability for a team member to know, or a potential hire to know, that they don't have to lose their base, their communities that they've attached to and associated with, to have a great career has really broadened the pool for us. And so we've been very deliberate in communicating to individuals. Again, it's not where you work, it's how you work. And it's about the outcomes that we need to get from a result perspective. And we've changed and we really enhanced our campaigns to reinforce that and to really teach our leaders how to talk about and understand how to lead remote teams so that when they are recruiting and helping us attract and retain talent, that they have a consistent message that talks about the overall experience that we have and what it means to be a part of our community and our family. And I would say also we've also looked at underrepresented populations. As you know, we've got some very aggressive, what we call from our social responsibility, Progress 2030 goals around ensuring that 50% of our workforce are females. Of those 50%, 40% are in leadership position. And in the States, 25% of those are Hispanic or African American or people of color. And so in order to ensure that we are all embracing that and meeting that goals, we've really looked at different hiring pools. So we go to minority serving institutions. We've worked to develop some relationships with historical Black colleges and universities where we are not just coming from a transactional perspective to get talent. We're also in there in the classrooms. We're developing the talent. In my former role in the chief customer office, I had my data scientists go into Howard University and teach a data scientist class to say this is what it requires to be a data scientist. So we're really developing those relationships, and we've got a very strong social responsibility or social, to me, conscious organization where I can do the things that incite me, that are passionate for me. I sit on the board for the Boys and Girls Club. A lot of our team members also have passions. So we provide support for them where they can go and do community service, where they can do matching, where they give to their charities of choice, and we match those to $10,000. So there are a number of ways that we do to really attract and retain talent and to really make a difference in those communities where we work, which is we find ourselves in about 180 countries across the world. So it's quite a span for us.
Don, what about you guys at Slack? What have been some strategies that you've undertaken to kind of broaden the hiring pool and make sure that managers are kind of adjusting to this new way of hiring where it's not tied to location?
Yeah, so the first thing we did is we made all of our positions remote available. So they're remote by default, which means that you can, we have an office there, if we haven't, I wish we were in 180 countries, but if we have it, maybe I don't. But if we were in, if we have an office and we are available and you want to work there, that's a default for us. So that was a big change, first of all. Second thing was, and that means all current employees and then all new open recs that are going to become available as well. We onboarded a 20% growth in our company this year, which was about 200, 300 people that have never actually met with a Slack person, right? They've never actually come to the office. We really shifted onboarding in terms of what is that going to look like? And that means for managers that are coming in as well. So we shifted how we talk about the company, how we talk about the culture through the entire employee life cycle. So that's from the branding, when I talk about, we have no headquarters, the platform is our headquarters, to the recruiting process where we are open. We have always had a strong intern program. We grow a lot of talent through that. We have a strong, while we don't publicly state diversity goals, but we have a very, very strong diversity pipeline and talent pool. And we have, the bar is very low in Silicon Valley, but we've always been very happy to be one of the leaders on diversity. And then the other thing I would say is that we have really talked to managers about the actual skills that are needed for the job and what does competence look for. And I think that really allows for bias to be squeezed out of the system too. Right? Because if you're talking about, it's less about butt in seat time, right? Maybe you're allowing more space for the moms or dads of the world that also need to be with their kids, but don't need to stay to be seen in the office till 6 or 7 p.m. at night, right? So really honing in on the competence and what skills and what the deliverables are. We've also heard from our employees that it's a little bit hard to separate from work and home right now. So sometimes they're working even more hours because, one, there's not a lot of places to go, and two, there's just work to be done. So helping them set a boundary on what output really looks like, as opposed to kind of those more traditionally biased ways of let's get a beer after work or let's do this or that. And so I think everyone wins in that scenario because you're really talking about high impact work that matters. And you're just kind of squeezing some bias out of the system.
Absolutely.
Great. I think we're nearing the end of the time, but just wanted to ask, is there any last thoughts or anything that either of you wanted to add?
I think if I could add, first of all, it's been a pleasure spending time with both of you all. And Dawn, I would love to connect with you to share best practices at any time. I think that it is a critically important time for us to really think about the whole employee. As Dawn was saying, it's not just about your career, but it's about your whole life. And we find that we're all in situations where our life as well as our work life are meshing. So ensuring that we're providing the right support for our team members so that they can bring their whole selves to work, that they can take care of themselves from a physical as well as mental and from a skill set perspective is critically important for all of us. For us, the leveraging of technology and resources to provide WebMDs or therapists that are remote, the ability to work remotely or on a flexible schedule, as you said, Dawn, whenever you want, wherever you want, making sure that you support the outcome of Dell Technologies is critically important. And then also doing what we need to do as leaders to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our team members. And those are the things that are also important, that you can't be good for anyone if you are not good for you. And so making sure that we do teach our team members and ourselves when we can have boundaries or how to have boundaries and practicing those skills so they can emulate those. And that means for me personally, not taking calls on the weekend. I don't do that. Or understanding that I've got team members who may work a little differently from a flexibility perspective because they want to have time to drop off their children in the daytime, or they have an after school project that they need to do with their children remotely because they're now tech support as well as for their school as well as working for their kids. So those things are all very important. So just make sure that you provide an environment where your team members can be successful and effective. And again, do what you need to do for yourself.
No, that's so well said. I don't know if I can add anything to that. What I will say is to the people professionals out there, one thing that I've been thinking about is how many people I've heard leaving the profession after this year that have just needed to take a break and burnt out. And to Najma's point, really making sure you put on your own oxygen mask and take care of yourself and have the boundaries around that, because I do think it is more important than ever for us to be thinking about the entire employee and what that looks like. And I really think employees' expectations of what they're going to demand of their employers in future is going to be significantly increased after this. And so if you are not on the forefront of partnering with your people and HR organizations to be thinking about how you can be an organization of the future, you will have a missed opportunity to recruit and retain talent. So I think it is take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And may we all go into this bold future together.
Great. Thank you both so much for joining us and for sharing all your insight. It was great talking to you.